So, a very good afternoon, morning, or evening, depending on which part of the world whoever is listening to it. Today we have a very special guest in our Ayurveda section, and she's Dr. Chaithanya Chandrasekharan. She's a graduate of the Sri College of Ayurveda, and from Bangalore, and she's an Ayurvedic Vaidya. So she also has a master's in clinical psychology. So
Hello, Harshini. Thank you for having me here.
a very warm welcome to you on this Christmas Eve day. So let's jump right into it. And I'd like to begin by asking you, what makes you so passionate about Ayurveda? Why did you choose to pursue it as a career path?
I wasn't passionate about Ayurveda when I joined the graduation course for studying Ayurveda. I just crash landed on it, simply getting persuaded by my friends. So I won't say I had a goal or a childhood dream of becoming an Ayurveda physician. But luckily, fate was in my favor that I've got great teachers, people who were passionate and who still are passionate. So I think passion, it's quite contagious. It speaks for itself. So being mentored by passionate experts of Ayurveda gradually invoked that fire to learn something new inside me, especially when it comes to uh, human healing. So it was a gradual process.
Right. And can you recall any turning points? What were those key points that made you think, yeah, this is it?
Mm, yes. So I would say during our internship, which is 4.5 years after your college education, you're supposed to be practicing with your teachers and professors in their clinics or in their consultation rooms or in hospitals to get a first-hand experience on how do you deal with a patient or a client, how do you diagnose and how do you prescribe support and so on. So during that time, I had traveled out of Bangalore. I'd been to places in the south part of India like Puttur, Chennai, and Kanyakumari. So it was a 1 month internship each. And in these places, we had extremely magnanimous personalities and great experts of Ayurveda who were running their own hospitals and clinics. So these are kind of physicians who have more than 3 to 4 decades of experience in the field and people who consult around 100 patients a day. So the kind of exposure that you get in these places about the possibilities and the potential of Ayurveda was huge and extraordinary. And above all, I could never see them getting tired or cribbing after the whole day of consultation and meeting more than 100 people a day. They still had the same passion every next day. And so huge was their commitment to bringing health to people, being rooted in Indian system of medicine. So every day of those 90 days or 3 months of my internship traveling from Puttur to Kanyakumari was a turning day, and I could trade off my entire graduation for that 90 days, because when I went for this internship I still had the doubt, okay, I've learned so much, but it looks like it's a dying system of medicine, and nowadays people don't believe in herbal medicine so much. It's all about quick relief, and it's all about the yummy painkillers and the antibiotics and cough syrups and surgeries. So maybe it might take another 50 to 100 years for people to get convinced about the potential health benefits of herbal medicine. So I wasn't pretty confident, even though the science looked great, it looked very helpful in the current day scenario. I wasn't very confident about its practicality, about how convinced people are about the science. But when I went there and I saw the kind of diseases they were dealing with and the kind of results these physicians were bringing in, I realized, yes, the science is not dead, it's still alive, and It's alive in not just the wellness sector of healing, but in the treatment sector, which is management of diseases. So that made me convinced about the possibilities of revival of the science. And the second thing is the fact that these teachers were mentoring you about their journey every day after their clinicals. So we were working almost 14 to 16 to maybe 20 hours a day, but they made sure that we took the maximum out of their life during those 90 days. So I would say that 3 months were the turning point of my whole career.
Right. And you said that you saw a lot of potential in the way that it can really help people today. So, what do you think is the potential for Ayurveda in today's world?
I would say to begin with, preventive healthcare is a very unique aspect that Ayurveda has put forward. You don't find that the aspect of preventive healthcare in many contemporary systems of medicine. It's all about when you have a symptom, you get the care for it. So I have seen that many people who have great blood reports, they do not know how to eat well or to live well or how to take care of their body. What are the basic etiquettes you have to follow when it comes to self care? So, what I've seen is they also don't know who to go to, because you're not entertained by a physician unless you're sick. You can't ask them, hey, how can I be healthy? Can you give me a plan? Or can you guide me into doing right things for my body and mind? So people are quite unaware of this possibility of healthcare, that you can, if you want to, prevent getting sick and keep yourself healthy for quite a long period of time. And since the incoming of lifestyle diseases gaining momentum in our country, I think many health enthusiasts have slowly started to think in the direction, okay, if your lifestyle can be potential cause of a disease, then maybe the solution is in changing the lifestyle. So that is where Ayurveda can pitch in big time, because it has already, maybe since thousands of years, clearly explained about the connection between your habits of living and the diseases that you acquire. So that's a core area which can be filled with Ayurveda's wisdom. And of course, when it comes to the management care with Ayurveda, you've so much potential in musculoskeletal conditions, in anorectal disorders, in gynecological problems, and so on. Like, the management sector of Ayurveda is as huge as allopathic science or any medical science. So I wouldn't go into comparison between sciences, but for me, the most important and the most unique aspect of Ayurveda is its objective and its significance that it gives to preventive healthcare.
Right. And because Ayurveda is so ancient,
Mhm.
how can one channelize this ancient knowledge in this modern world?
That's a very nice question. Uh, I would say we have a thinking that what is ancient is outdated. Well, if you think with that logic, we can also be outdated, because humans are also quite ancient a race. So we could consider ourselves outdated in front of a missionary, maybe. So I don't think that's the right way of thinking. Ancient has nothing to do with outdated,
Mhm.
because nature is also ancient. And what is ancient is not necessarily outdated. It can be highly updated and very valuable even now, because that's the whole cycle of life. So what can you apply in current day to begin with is to understand how your body is connected to the rhythms
Mhm.
of nature, be it day and night, be it seasons, be it your age, whatever. There is an innate symbiotic connection between time and our body or mind. or you can just call your personality, or you as a person is so much connected and in a flowing rhythm with time inside yourself, and the time that we speak in gross term. So for example, every cell, it's formed, it lives for a cycle, and then it destroys. It's ending its life cycle. If you take a blood cell, you can see the change. After a few months, it is disintegrating. So everything in the body is following a time cycle, and many of us are not aware of this, that things that are born inside has a shelf life and then it disintegrates back into time. So we are not aware of this connection between us and nature. And I would say that is where we have to start implementing the wisdom that Ayurveda brings in, because it very clearly says if you understand this connection between time, then you can harvest the benefits out of this relationship. That means the more adhered or rhythmic you are with the flow of time, the more healthy you can be, the longer you can live with health. The more disoriented you are from this rhythm or from this cycle, the more potential problems you bring in to the sequence. So this is where Ayurveda can teach us, okay, we are more connected to the environment within and around us than we think. So every activity that we do as a routine, be it a thinking process, be it your water habit, be it your fitness habits, your eating habits, your sleeping habits, it's all very much related to describing your health index. So that is where we have to pitch in right now. How good are my habits? Am I following the rhythm of time in my everyday living? If yes, that's a great start to begin with, because that's the first stepping stone of being healthy and living well.
That's a really, really interesting and incisive thought. How would you look at the problems that the world is facing today from this purview?
When we talk about the context of this pandemic, I would say, well, the speciality of viruses is that in this classical context of current times, the speciality of a virus is that it can always mutate. You cannot define a shape or a structure. So if you're looking for a target specific solution, it would take more time to study about the behavior of the organism and to come up with a pan solution. But if you look at the same problem with a broader spectrum, you can understand that your body is generally well equipped to handle millions of viruses on a regular basis. You know, so what is that intelligence which is helping defense be active in your system? We've encountered millions of viruses all our lives now, big, small, potentially harmful and not. But here we are, still healthy and fine. So how did we have this journey of being healthy despite being exposed to so many viruses? So there's something inside our system which knows how to handle or microorganisms in the world. So I think we'll have to focus into the whole spectrum rather than targeting on that one organism which is external. So improving defense mechanism within the body, or the intelligence of defense within each cell in the body, would be a faster result giving approach than waiting to study the behavior of the microorganism, which is very unpredictable. And the advantage we have here is, the more your defense is better, it doesn't matter what new virus comes in the future. A pandemic is not going to end even after you discover a vaccine. You will have another potential virus maybe a few years ahead of time. So it's very important to give significance to your own self, your own defense abilities, along with paying attention to the methods of controlling an external organism's influence in the system. This is how I think about it. And how can you improve the internal defense. You need not take a vaccine or a pill always for that, because all of us are born with it. Maybe most of us are born with a, a set defense mechanism, a very supreme intelligence, and we have techniques that we can adopt in our daily life to improve this intelligence
Mhm.
and its abilities.
That's really, yeah, that's really what the world needs today. And it's sad that when we talk about this, people start to quell these kind of thoughts, and they want to encourage more of the. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that approach, but it's not solving any problems that may arise in the future. So,
So,
in that case, then does one guard oneself from things like 5G, which are so much harder to handle with, um, which is.
true. So that would be another pandemic coming up. It can be as potentially hazardous as a viral pandemic too. But what I would say is body has an ability to adapt to a great extent, because maybe 50 years ago, when people were not so used to electronic gadgets, and there were not so many towers all around the place, uh, it was a different case. The adaptation of the body of those people are a bit different from ours, who are all the time with electronic gadgets these days. So body has an ability to adapt to a great extent, but things like 5G is quite beyond that adaptation ability. So definitely you're going to have some health hazards associated with these
Mhm.
high grade radiations. So one option is to practice techniques that helps you there. For example, breathing techniques helps you, meditation helps you, fitness programs help you.
Mhm.
Maintaining an alkaline pH of your physical body and gut metabolism helps you big time to handle the radiations quite well. And next is building a lifestyle habit around it. So to well define how much time you're going to use the gadgets, and using those equipments that can control the radiation
Mhm.
in the place where you live, and disconnecting yourself from the gadgets whenever you don't need them, and so on. So we do have a lot of information on how to live healthy during the times of the upcoming 5G and above uh, changes in the technology. So, definitely, we cannot live like how we lived 10 years ago, when 5G and maybe 6G, 7Gs and all will come in future. We will have to adapt, and we will then definitely have to bring down our consumption time of these
Mhm.
sources. So that's the best way, reducing the consumption and being an intelligent consumer of these resources would be the best way to control the health hazards of it. So nobody says 5G is bad. No, it depends on how abuse
Mhm.
how much of abuse you do. So overusing any good thing is a problem. That's the first cause of a mismatch in the system. So as long as you have control over your consumption, we are good. Be it food or 5G or water or thoughts, as long as you control your consumption, you don't have to suffer from a health hazard. But the moment you can't control the consumption of any input, that's when we have a health problem from the input. This is how I think about it.
That's
Hmm.
a really empowering thought. What would you say to what does Ayurveda say about what enables this control in the system? For example, the mind. You mentioned breathing techniques.
Um, you mean the defense mechanisms in the body?
You said that we need to limit our consumption,
Mm-hmm.
but often these gadgets are designed in a way which are actually draw us in more. So, is there anything that Ayurveda suggests, for example, breathing techniques that can help us handle our minds better to stay away from this addictive content?
Yes, actually, yes. But I would say more than Ayurveda, yoga is the school of thought that takes care of this. Because Ayurveda's focus is more on the body. And yoga is the second wheel of the bicycle, which takes care of your mind and beyond. And when it comes to over consumption of electronic media or electronic information or digital information and all those addictive behaviors, all behavioral level problems originates beyond the body but has its symptoms in the physical body. So that realm of how to handle mind, intellect, and memory is is addressed in detail in School of Yoga. And when we say yoga, it's definitely not the asanas and the trends that we follow in yoga, but just like how Ayurveda is, yoga is also a way of heightened living. It's a culture of everyday routine that people of high quality intelligence follow, and it has to be trained inside one person. It's not something that you can just learn in a day or something. It's just like how we learned brushing. We had to continuously brush for many months and years to get mastery over the craft. So the same way, yoga, through its postures, through its techniques of breathing, through meditation, and all that, helps you to understand the behaviors, the mannerisms, the patterns, and the processing of mind and your intellect and all other faculties associated with it. So, the better you understand the way your brain works, and the better you're able to draw a line
Mhm.
as to what has to go in and what need not go in. So that's where yoga can pitch in. So, and Ayurveda clearly says that, that which has to be dealt with mind and beyond needs to take the support of yoga. And the influence of these activities that we do is definitely seen in the body after a point of time. And those influences can be corrected with the support of Ayurveda. For example, and let's particularly take addictive disorders here. After you come out of the addictive behavior through cognitive behavioral therapy and all this support of yoga schools and meditation schools that you would take, what happens inside you is you have to help your body get adjusted to the new normal. So, there we'll have to work on your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system, particularly. So, there we can use herbs, we can use detox programs, and we can use changes in your food habits and routines so that your body rejuvenates from the trauma induced by a particular behavior. So that's where Ayurveda pitches in.
Right. Um, so, what do you think are the challenges that Ayurveda faces today, and how do you think that one can work around them?
I would say the biggest challenge is the lack of researches that's happening. So most of the people who practice Ayurveda are so content with their clinical practice or their pharmaceutical ventures or maybe their academic ventures. So we really need volunteers, enthusiasts, and experts to give priority attention to researches and to bring them forward to the world to make them understand that yes, science is still valuable, it is still applicable, and it's still result oriented. So what I miss is great researches, great initiation of research projects that need to happen. But I would say things are much better than it was 10 years ago. So we are in the right direction. So maybe in another 10 to 20 years, we'll see path breaking uh, findings that Ayurveda can contribute to the world.
Speaking of this, how do you think Ayurveda can work in tandem with systems like allopathy? Because I remember Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji was talking about in the launch of the Kabasur Kudineer medication. He was telling the press that Ayurveda needs to work. We need a system of holistic medicine which combines the best from all the systems of medicine. So, how do you think, in principle, how would this work?
That's very true. Even in Ayurveda, the authors have very clearly advised that in many a times in life you would be in a situation where one science will might not be able to solve the problem. So an intelligent physician or an intelligent healer would then combine the knowledge of all possible sciences that you can bring to as complementary medicine, not necessarily alternative, but complementary medicine, which can support each other in bringing the best result to the client or the patient or the one who needs it. And that is the best kind of therapy or healing. So, Ayurveda is a very, very complementary friendly system of medicine. It works very well with homeopathy. It works very well with traditional Chinese medicine or traditional Iranian medicine, and to a great certain extent, allopathic medicine as well. So things like antioxidants, the concept of antioxidants, the concept of detox, the concept of metabolic boosting, the concept of immunity boosters, and so on, can go well in hand with allopathic system of medicine. Because I what I believe is, after you have been treated from a disease, your body do need some time to recoup and optimize its performance. So that's also a place where medicine actually has great potential to bring the body back to how things were before falling sick. And that's when the treatment is completed, not simply when the symptom disappears. No, only when health is restored, a treatment is called successful. This is what I believe in. So I would say that is where we can really take help of all healthcare systems in the world as to what system of medicine can be good in the premier state, in the beginning acute stages of a problem. What system of medicine can help you post symptom management of a condition? What system can help you to bring your immunity and your functions of each system back in position, and so on? So Ayurveda is a 100% complementary friendly system of medicine, depending on which area of the problem that you're looking at. But there are no contraindications as such uh, in Ayurveda, where you are clearly said that this two systems does not go well with each other. No.
Mhm. Right. And my final question to you is, what is your vision as an Ayurvedic doctor in your journey as well?
Okay, I'm still figuring that out because I think it's something that takes time. So I am definitely interested in research. I would say that's something that the current time demands. So yes, so I see that there are a lot of researches coming up. So I would definitely like to be the part of such path-breaking researches and programs that we can launch on a wide range of population as a health scheme, a preventive health scheme. So the more research we do, the more data we have, the better it is to educate people.
Mhm.
This is a way that I see can work. So I would say, yeah, that's kind of the direction that I have as my personal vision. That it claims that status back which it had since thousands of years before time.
That's really wonderful. And do you have any projects in the pipeline that you've thought of as what your first research would be? Or any ideas, any topics?
Mm, Cancer is a wonderful area that you can research about the potentials of traditional systems of medicine. Because, like I said, it's also similar to the travel journey of a virus. The reason why something develops inside your body against the intelligence that it already contains and becomes a problem to its own self is something that's more deep rooted than this one particular unhealthy cell.
Mhm.
So where all traditional health systems and especially Ayurveda can bring a great success to people who are suffering from this particular condition. And it's quite a threatening condition worldwide now. You always hear about, more and more people getting affected by it. So that's an area where I would like to work on.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe in future. Mhm.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. And before we sign off, do you have anything else to add? Any message you'd like to leave to our listeners?
Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I wish everyone a happy Christmas and a great new year. And the third would be, so we have seen what this year has brought on our table. We've seen the limitations uh, of, let's say, like everything, be it your workspace, be it your social life, be it your fitness plan, be it your food habits and everything. And we've also seen at the same time the potential of life. So I would really like everyone to take health as priority for the coming years, not just 2021, but for years to come. So that the whole mindset that I have to only take care of myself if I have a problem changes over time. So I really wish that everyone realizes how unique a gift it is to have a functional body and mind, and to take necessary steps to value, to preserve and honor these assets that we are born with. That would be something great. And Ayurveda is always there to help you when you decide to take care of yourself, definitely before you fall sick.
Right. Thank you for that beautiful message, and it is really quite a timely one. It's so easy for us in these days to take our bodies for granted, though no more so in this pandemic. But even then, with our busy lives, with our home offices, and with just the chores, life is like so demanding these days that it's quite a challenge to carve out time to take care of health. But the fact is that that is the first thing without which we can't run any other aspect of our lives. So,
So
thank you so much once again for taking the time off for this really insightful, very, I would say, concisely yet in detail dealing of the subject and all the questions that you so deftly and dexterously answered. So,
thanks a lot, Harshini, for having me here on this platform and for your great questions.
right. Wish you a wonderful Christmas day ahead and a very, very prosperous and joyous new year. And may your research dreams happen very soon.
Thanks a lot, and I wish you and family the same.
Right. See you.
See you then.